Hello, beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I do this through one-on-one angel sessions, which are wonderful. And if you are ever guided to register for one, you can visit me on my website, illuminating-souls.com. I also offer soul mentoring, which provides for consistent support as you move through a time of growth or change or healing. And then I also offer a variety of classes designed to inspire your spirit. And you can learn more at my website when you're awake. But for now, the angels and I are here to help you come into a state of rest and drift off into a good expanse of sleep. As most of you know, I am someone who listens to sleep podcasts, and I have for years. I absolutely love the genre, and this is why I was guided to create Sleepy Bedtime Blessings for you. If you're new to the world of sleep podcasts, here are my recommendations for you. What I love to do is I put in my earbuds so that I can hear the sleep podcast, and it helps me drown out my conscious mind that might be going through the events of the day. It helps me tune out any ambient noises, and it gives me this really gentle place to focus my attention. So my recommendation to you is to find out what listening strategy works best for you. You may want to play it on a speaker. You may want to wear headphones. You might need to experiment a bit to see what works best for you. And it may take a couple of tries before you find yourself drifting off to sleep. It's been my experience that with different sleep podcasts, we build a relationship with them. So when I tune into some of my other sleep podcasts that I listen to, as soon as I hear the introduction and the voice of the host, I begin to relax because I've come to learn what I can expect from that space. And so if you're just getting started with Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, give it a few tries and see if the space, the energy field, and the rhythm, the vibration of this broadcast will help to serve you and bring you into a lulling sense of restfulness. And one other thing that I do is I use a sleep timer. So most podcast apps and phones have timers on them. If you're using an iPhone, you have a timer on it, but just make sure you set it to stop playing when the time has run out so you don't get an alarm ringing by mistake. But usually what I use is the sleep timer embedded in the podcast apps. So I typically use Apple's podcast app and I set the timer so that the app turns off. And then by the time it does, almost always, I am asleep. I also know some of you use this podcast during the daytime. And I just have to say, however you find this podcast helpful, I am honored to get to spend this time with you. This podcast is here for you to use in whatever way best serves you. I'm just honored and grateful for the opportunity to keep you company and bring love forward for you right now. So thank you for being here. And I invite you to just take a nice deep breath in and let that out. So as I'm recording this, it is a Monday morning, and I have to say it has really been a lovely week. My husband and I have had several opportunities develop, seemingly unrelated, but somehow intertwined, that have the potential to bring more grace into our lives. The details about these events, I'm not going to share with you because it's not really important as a listener. But the reason I bring it forward in contemplation with you is that there are times when unexpected grace arrives. As co-creators, yes, we love things like law of attraction and setting our intentions and really being very involved in what we create. And also, I love when co-creation happens through grace. When it happens because something shifts or an opportunity unexpectedly arrives. Something new comes into our awareness, and all of a sudden a different pathway illuminates. That co-creation doesn't always have to do with our efforting our way into manifestation. That we are vibrational beings, and so we have countless streams of intention and prayers and wisdom that is all working together all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. It's like how the weather changes. I grew up in the Midwest, and somewhere around February and March, the weather just seemed endless. Like it was never going to be warm again. And of course we knew that it would be warm because, weather. And then it would always seem like in a single day everything changed. And the snow will have melted away and the grass will emerge. The green grass will emerge from underneath the snow. And it would be warm. And for us in that transition point, it usually meant that it was about 58 degrees Fahrenheit. And it would seem like everything changed in about 24 hours. And typically, just people would seem more hopeful, more optimistic. The world would seem a bit brighter. So this is the sweet reminder for all of us, me too, that life is always in movement. And I like to affirm that there are aspects of life that are always in movement in ways that will ultimately delight us. Maybe not every single day, maybe not every single week, but moments of grace arrive. Not because we've efforted our way into it, but simply because, for whatever reason, a shift takes place. And I feel like we've been navigating, my husband and I, we've had a bit of a shift this week, which has just been lovely. Lovely. Oh, I love these moments. And maybe it's because I haven't had much energy to effort the last few years. One of the things I can share with you from this weekend, I don't know if I have shared with you, but my husband tends our garden, and he planted, I think we have 5 or 6 tomato plants in our garden. And if you've ever grown tomatoes, it is a miracle to witness. You know, this tiny invisible seed, when tended to properly, becomes this enormous tomato plant. And I just also have to interject. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a bird singing in the background, which of course now stopped. Okay, well, it may come back. So it is the time of the year where our tomato plants are magical. And there are so many ripe tomatoes. And we went outside yesterday and harvested tomatoes. And we had so many that we gave some to our neighbors, which is always lovely. Yes, when you can share your bounty, it's such a sweet thing. But I think of that, it's not that it's unexpected grace. It is the grace that shows up because it is the nature of the life cycle to bring grace forward. And for the next few months, we will have more tomatoes than we can eat. And they're delicious. So the theme for this episode is unexpected grace. And the story I'm going to share with you tonight also has to do with unexpected grace. That somehow the hand of God guides us, even when we're not sure it is happening. So I'm going to invite the angels in to be with us now, even though they are already here. And I invite you to take a nice deep breath in and out and get really comfortable in your body. Just let's send a whoosh of love to your beautiful body temple. And beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I thank you for the waves of love you are bringing to us all. Angels, I ask that you help to clear our energy fields through the heart of God and send healing light in all dimensions of time and space. And angels, I ask that you help to lift our burdens, especially those that we need not carry, and that you help to balance our energy field so that we can feel even more aligned with our authentic selves. And angels, I ask that you send special blessings to each of our beloveds listening here now. That I know that you know their deepest prayers. And I ask that their prayers be amplified here and now. So dear ones, just take another nice deep breath in and release allowing this love to move through you as the angels help to clear away anything that does not belong to you. And with your permission, the angels are helping to upgrade your vibration, to bring you into alignment with even more experiences of divine grace. Grace that comes to you as easily as a sunrise. Grace that flows to you because it is the very nature of the rhythm of life. And even as I speak these words, I feel this beautiful attunement coming in for us all that will help to uplift our energy fields so that we can experience more ease, more inspiration, and more goodness. And I affirm that goodness is flowing to you now as your consciousness expands and comes into alignment with the portals of light that are opening in your name. Solutions are being formed for that which you are pondering, that your brighter tomorrows are being energized while you sleep. So my beautiful friends, here's to unexpected grace finding you in a way that delights you. That your angels are taking good care of you. And that love is always here with you, even now, especially now. So I invite you to get really cozy, let your body just relax. And while you rest, I'm going to tell you a story. And this story involves unexpected grace. And it is part 2 of my first ever psychic experience. So if you haven't heard part 1 yet, you can find it in episode 66, the episode just before this one. So in the last episode, I shared with you how in the late 80s, I would have been in my mid-20s, I decided to get an MBA from Pepperdine University because I wanted to make more money. I was very money driven. And as part of the MBA program, everyone had to start with a class in human development. And the instructor that I had taught this class from the perspective of metaphysics, which I thought was a bunch of hooey back then. I was a skeptic in the days. I had grown up in a very intellectual family. And even though I was a dreamer in terms of, hoping for the best and seeing bright dreams on the horizon, I did not believe in all the airy-fairy stuff. So I really resisted the information I was being given in this class in the beginning. But then something started to shift for me, and the class completed with a 2-day retreat up near Santa Barbara, where we were taught how to meditate and use pendulums, kinesiology, And the final exercise was an exercise in remote viewing, where I clearly had a psychic experience, which kind of freaked me out, because not only had I had a psychic experience, but most of my classmates had their own as well. And this was not some metaphysical class that you would have signed up for through Hay House. These were business people. These were accountants, right? This was all about getting MBAs, not about having some spiritual experience. So I had this very profound experience the last day of the class. And I left with a very different awareness of myself and of the world. And I was driving home from Santa Barbara to LA thinking, oh my God, I'm psychic. What does that even mean? Like, who am I? Who are we? What am I going to tell people? Like, I felt like this would require me telling people about this somehow. So, at the time I was working at the Samuel Goldwyn Company, I've shared with you before about my job there and some of my friends. And if you've been listening to all these episodes, you've heard me talk about my friend Judy, who I also call Judes. So Judy and Judes, they're the same person. Just depending on the moment, depends on what I call her. So she was one of my dear friends at Goldwyn. And here's the interesting part about her story. Jude's is one of those rare people who was born open to her gifts. I did not know that at the time, though. She has always known things and seen things, and it's just a part of who she is. You might know someone like that. I find it fascinating when people are born open to their gifts. That was not the case with me, but it was the case with Judy. And I was friends with Judy. I adored her. We worked in the same department, and, we were work friends, girlfriends, right? The let's go for lunch and giggle and talk about life. And we just always really enjoyed our time together. We had a few other friends we were close with at work. And she knew I was going on this retreat. And she also knew that I had a crush on a cute boy in the class. Because, I was, probably 25 at that age. And at that age stage, I was always looking for a cute boy to have a crush on. That's just how I was back then. And so I came into work the next day after the retreat, and Jude says to me, "How was the retreat?" And I said, "Judy, I think I'm psychic." Like, kind of freaked out. And Judy just started laughing. And she has the best laugh, one of those laughs that comes from the heart. And what I didn't know at that point is one of the reasons she started laughing was because she finally understood why she was at this job. So let me give you some background on that. So Judy had worked in the entertainment industry. She'd worked for different companies. She'd worked for music companies and film companies. And one day she had come to the Samuel Goldwyn office to have lunch with a friend. The receptionist at the time got Judy mixed up with someone else. So she thought Judy had come into our office to apply for a job. And so she handed Judy an application and said, "Here, fill this out. And Judy thought, well, that's kind of weird that I have to fill out an application to have lunch with someone. And Judy thought, well, okay, maybe I'm supposed to fill this out. And so she sat there and filled out this application. And as it turned out, Judy had the exact right experience for the executive assistant of the president of our department. And so she wound up going through the interview process and getting the job. And it's so like Judy to go with the flow. She thought, well, I guess I'm supposed to be there. I don't know why. I wasn't looking for a job, but maybe God wants me to work there. So I'll go. And I don't remember how long Judy had been there before I had my psychic experience. But I don't know, let's say 6 months, maybe a year. I don't recall how long it was. But what I would learn later is Judy had said to her mom at some point, maybe I was wrong. I don't know why I'm there. I thought I was supposed to be there for some reason, but maybe not. Maybe I wasn't supposed to come here. And then I walk in and I say, Judy, I think I'm psychic. And Judy starts to laugh because in that moment she knew. She knew she was supposed to be there for me. Is that not the most incredible thing? She realized that she was supposed to be there for me. And she was. She was my first teacher. And we were talking about unexpected grace. Talk about unexpected grace. There's an adage that I often use when I'm teaching. It's from the angels. And it's this, that God knows your carrot. And here's what I mean by that. That drawing that's almost in every fairy tale of the donkey, and there's a carrot on a string on a pole, and it's used to entice the donkey to move forward. God knows your carrot. God knows how to motivate you. God knows how to make you move in a direction that will be meaningful for you. Knows how to motivate you. So God knew I was all about the money. Let's send her over to Pepperdine for that MBA. And oh, by the way, make sure she gets into Dr. Reardon's class. And oh, by the way, make sure she partners up with the right person during the remote viewing assignment so that she will have an experience that she cannot possibly explain away. And oh, make sure that when Judy goes to visit a friend for lunch and that the receptionist mistakenly hands her a job application that she then fills out. And oh, make sure that Laurel and Judy become friends. Unexpected grace and God knowing our carrots. By this point, Judy and I were good friends. I trusted her with everything. So, this was a God moment, which I find remarkable. There's a great Stephen Jobs quote that I'm not going to pull up at this moment, but it has to do with connecting the dots, that sometimes you can only connect the dots looking backwards, but I see all of those dots and I just marvel at how that all worked out. So I confess my psychic abilities and Judy laughs. And so we have been on this journey for probably 35 years now. We never stopped. And it was really incredible to have Judy to talk to about everything, because once I discovered this part of myself, I needed to know everything. If you've ever studied astrology, which is fascinating, I have Mercury in Gemini. And what that means is Mercury is the planet that reflects how you think and how you learn. And Mercury in Gemini, the people with that aspect, we are binge learners. We need to know everything right now. Google was made for people with Mercury in Gemini. And that's the way I've always been. When I want to learn something or know something, I will leave no stone unturned until I have metabolized everything I want to know about whatever that topic is. So this world of metaphysics is now opening up for me. And I have Jude's as one of my besties, and we work together every day. And so we would just have endless conversations. And she was very gentle on her approach. She took her time. She would give me space to acclimate to new information. And a couple of our friends came on the journey with us. I think especially our friend Luce, who I've shared with you about before. So it really was such a sweet time. Judy and Luce and I were very close back then. And we discovered a lot together. In fact, Judy led Luce and I through our first past life regression. And I'm trying to, I'm going to share it with you. I'll tell you why I hesitated, because it's a sleep podcast and I don't know if any of you will find this a little too weird, but I can feel all of you now going, tell us. So I'm going to tell you the story about the past life regressions. So Judy had been sharing with us about the method that she knew for past life regression. And by this point, I was learning everything I could about everything. I was a wild child. There was a great bookstore in Los Angeles for metaphysics called the Bodhi Tree on Melrose. And it had a huge selection of metaphysical material. So I was going there all the time and getting lost in the stack of books. And I had bought a couple books about past lives and past life regressions, because I'm Mercury and Gemini. Of course I did, right? And so we had a date when we were going to do the past life regression. We were going to go to my apartment, and Judy and Luce and I were going to do the regressions together. And of course I couldn't wait. And I had bought this cool book from the Bodhi Tree that had a guided meditation you could do yourself. So I decided I'm going to do this before the official past life regression with Jude's, because Mercury and Gemini, and I need to know. So I take myself through the meditation, the guided meditation in the book. And what they tell you to do, and many different modalities do this, is when you enter the meditative state, they have you look down at your feet, because looking down at your feet in the meditative state can give you insight as to your gender in that lifetime, your age, what kind of era you're in, based on what kind of footwear you're wearing in the meditative state. So I go through this meditation, and I don't know if you've ever sort of thought, I wonder who I used to be. Well, I was like, was I a Russian ballerina? Mine were all very fanciful. And so in the meditative state, I go to look at my feet, my foot, single foot, thinking I'm going to see a slipper, like a ballet slipper, or a Victorian shoe or something like that. And I see a big, fat, hairy man's toe. Completely unexpected. And I screamed. I was like, whoa. And I pop out of the meditation completely freaked out. Because here's what I have come to learn. For me to really know that a psychic experience is psychic, I have to be surprised. Right? It's like the experience that I had with the remote viewing that I shared with you in episode 66, which was the golden retriever that I thought was a little boy, and that's why my signals got so crossed. So there was no part of me thinking there was going to be a big, fat, hairy man's toe staring back at me. So I knew something was happening. And also I had not made any room in my awareness for that reality. So I was freaked out. And I put the book away. And I was going to go into work the next day, and I think it was the next night that we were going to do our regression with Jude's. So of course I go into work. I'm like, Judy. So many of my conversations with Judy started with, Judy. Judy, I did a regression. There was this big, fat, hairy man's toe. And Judy just laughed. We laughed. I was like, who is it? What is that? Oh no. And she said, well, maybe we'll find out tonight. So I just love that. So many of my conversations with Jude, it's like, Judy, I have to tell you something. She would just laugh. So we go back to my house that night, and she leads us through the meditation. We each went one at a time. And so in my process, there was an opportunity to drop in to see the face of the lifetime we were regressing to. And I start seeing this man's face. And he looked a little bit like okay, sorry. I feel the line of energy, and he's like, please describe me nicely, which he was nice. So he's funny. He's a funny guy. Just this lifetime. This man was funny and warm-hearted. He was the heart of his village. So he was bald and heavy set, and balding, he'll say, and heavy set. And I see him sort of in a vest, with a long sleeve shirt underneath, which is rolled up, and it's been well worn. Yes, it's back when people didn't have a lot of clothes. And he ran a dry goods shop, and everybody would come into his store for a kind word to find out, what was happening with other families. And he would always make sure people had food if they needed it. And his name was Sam. And I didn't know all of that at first, though. But as I saw his face, I kind of got scared, and Judy could sense that. And she said, you can see that he's friendly, yes? And all of a sudden he started to smile. And then he started to laugh. And he said, because that's how the meditation worked, is it allowed me to hear from them. I know it sounds weird, but it was really cool. And he said he thought it would be really funny if the first foot I saw was his. And then we all just laughed. Sam laughed from wherever in consciousness he was. I laughed, Judy laughed, Luce laughed. We all just laughed about his toe. It was this really joyful experience. And then he revealed more about that lifetime. It was a really nice lifetime. There was no heaviness revealed. It was this lovely lifetime. He was just a really sweet heart of a man, and well-loved and respected and kind and generous. And it was such a cool experience to have. And again, I knew I wasn't making it up because of the experience I had with his toe the day before. And I've really come to believe that we are so expansive in our beingness. And I don't believe in past lives as linear anymore. I feel like it's more concurrent, parallel lines of energy that are all a part of the greater expanse of all that we are. I'm not going to do a good job of explaining this right now. But so that Sam is a part of my lineage. Sam is a part of my greater soul. So it's almost like Sam exists in parallel with me as well as within me, if that makes sense. So I really got that Sam was a practical joker. He loved to laugh. And that was my first ever past life regression, was with Sam. It was really such a beautiful experience. And then there were others. We did many other past life regressions, but the one that was really most significant for me was meeting Sam. And so I'm just so grateful. And so for all of these years, 35 years or more, Judes and I have grown together. You know, it's interesting. I was always so mesmerized by her gifts. She seemed to know so much. And she seemed to have access to information I didn't. And I never thought, though, that I would open to my own gifts in this way. And she never told me. Whether she knew or not, I haven't even asked her. But it was interesting because she was with me through the whole journey of going to USM, of opening to the angels, of learning to channel, of doing the work that I do now. And, you know, we talk about sometimes on this journey of soul families, you know, those souls who have incarnated to support us throughout our lifetime. And Judy is one of those souls for me, as is our friend Luce. And if you go back and listen to the episode, I think it's episode 50, where I share about the story of my awakening, I talk about how Judy and Luce came back to wake me up in 2000 and how profound an experience that was to be reunited with them, because we had fallen out of touch for a few years. So it's really been such a cool journey of unexpected grace. And we used to go to the beach and say prayers, and it's like everything was on the table. Like there wasn't any question I could ask that couldn't somehow find an answer. That sounds so cosmic, but I think you know what I mean. And then there would be the Bodhi tree, which I probably will do a whole episode just about my relationship with the Bodhi tree one day. But I would spend hours there. You would walk in and there would be beautiful music playing and they would have tea brewing, and I would just go from book to book to book, trying to learn and understand. And I would go with Jude's and Luce, and we would compare the books that we decided to get. And just so much joy took place. So lucky. I was been so lucky and so blessed. And I will share, I will share a really lovely, funny Judy story with you. That just actually happened 2 weeks ago. So Judy and I, all of these years, we just really have a very intuitive connection. Like we always know when to call each other. We always seem to be in a similar place in terms of feeling the energy. She's my person that I call up when I'm like, is it just me or is the world crazy right now? Just yesterday we were talking about how tired we both were. We do try to talk, every, 1 or 2 weeks, every couple of weeks. And I really wanted to call her yesterday, and I was so tired. And I left her this rambling message. I said, maybe you're feeling tired too. And she called me back. She said, I'm exhausted. I just was napping. So we just talked for a few minutes and we said, we'll regroup. We'll talk later. So she's one of those friends I can always call up to see what's going on with the energy and life in general. So here's the sweet story I want to share with you. Sorry if I'm just laughing at how funny this is. Well, I don't know, it's not ha-ha funny. It's the sweetest story and really reflects unexpected grace. So I love food. Perhaps you know this about me. And I watch TikToks, and I get onto food TikTok. And I also get onto bariatric TikTok because I have had bariatric surgery, which you may or may not know. And so bariatric food TikTok is presently obsessed with this appliance called the Ninja Creamy. It's an ice cream maker. And what you do is you put whatever your concoction is, and bariatric TikTok, they're using protein shakes and things like that. And you freeze it for 24 hours, and then you put it into this Ninja Creamy, and it makes soft serve ice cream out of it. And I've been obsessed in watching these videos. And I had been contemplating getting a Ninja Creamy, but I really can't justify a new appliance. I don't know about you. I have limited counter space, and I don't really need another appliance. I have a Keurig right now on the counter that I don't make coffee anymore and it's just sitting there. So I've been trying to rationalize getting the Ninja Creamy and, kind of trying to talk my husband into it. Not that I need his permission. He would let me get it. That's horrible language. It's not even about him letting me. But, if you're in a couple, you kind of try to come into agreement about things. And, he was like, yes, let's get it. I would have bought it right away. But he's like, yeah, we don't need another one. And I was like, yeah, you're kind of right. But I really still wanted it. And so Judy had told me that she had gotten me a birthday present. I had my 60th birthday in May, but it was on back order. And she said, it's kind of practical. I don't even know that you're going to want it, but I hope you do. And it was delayed in getting here. So about 2 weeks ago, some national news broke that made me feel like the world was a huge dumpster fire. anyways, I won't go into the details because it's a sleep podcast and all that. And I'm going grocery shopping. So I open my front door, and sitting on my porch is a big shipping box. And on the side, it says Ninja Creamy. And I am thinking, what, how did this get here? Did West get me a Ninja Creamy? But that wouldn't have been very West-like to just leave it on the porch. I was so confused. And I brought it into the house. It's big. And I opened the shipping box. And there's a note from Judy saying, I hope you like it. And I'm thinking, I don't think I told her about my Ninja Creamy obsession. And so I immediately call her. Judes, wait a second. Did I tell you I wanted a Ninja Creamy? And she started laughing. She said, no. I said, wait. Oh my God, wait a second. Do you know I have been obsessing over Ninja Creamies? I've been watching TikToks. I have wanted one. I've talked to Wes about one. I've talked myself out of it because it's not practical. And I open my door and there is a Ninja Creamy from you. How did you know? She just laughed. She said, well, I've been seeing the commercials and I wanted one too. And I thought it would be good for you because we need ice cream. I'm like, we do need ice cream. We do. We very much do need ice cream right now. And so she bought me a Ninja Creamy. Is that not the most delightful story ever? I couldn't get over it. I said, I just can't get over that. I have been obsessing about a Ninja Creamy and you sent me one and you didn't know it. Which is really how our friendship has worked these past 35 years. It's like, it just happens. So may you all have a friend who sends you whatever your variation of a Ninja Creamy is. And you know, it's funny. Both of our Ninja Creamies are still in the box because we've both been too tired to unpack them. But I resolved to unpack my Ninja Creamy this week. And I will report back to you how my first concoction goes. And I'm also going to send this podcast to Judy so she can hear it. I'm just so deeply grateful that God has brought me such beautiful soul family in this lifetime. And I'm just so deeply grateful for these moments of unexpected grace. That God has known what I needed every moment. And somehow I have been watched over and taken care of all the time. Even when it didn't seem like that was the case, it was the case. So my beautiful friends, here's to you and your unexpected moments of grace. And I know that you've had people in your life who have taken care of you and watched over you as well. And I have more stories to come about other friends who have shown up and taken good care of me as well. So, life is long and life is good. Maybe not all the time, but it's a gift to be able to string the pearls of our experiences of life and really energize those good moments when we know God was right there with us. And I get to be right here with you right now, sharing this love and sharing this joy. And so you're in my heart. And I am grateful for those moments of unexpected grace that led us to this moment when I get to be here with you right now because you matter, because you're precious and you are a gift in this world, and you are an answered prayer. And how cool is it that I get to sit here under the blanket fort and whisper to you and love you and share these cool things with you. So you rest well. And you know that right now the angels and God are orchestrating moments of unexpected grace for you. And when you find out what they are, let me know. I love a good story of unexpected grace. All right, my loves, you have a good rest, and we'll talk again soon. I love you. Thank you.